New York City, 1984. Mount Sinai Hospital, 2 in the morning. Muhammad Ali's room on the 7th floor was dark, except for the glow of the city lights coming through the window. He couldn't sleep, hadn't been able to sleep properly in weeks, not since the diagnosis became impossible to ignore, not since the tremors got bad enough that strangers noticed, not since Parkinson's disease became words he had to say out loud. Ali was sitting in the chair by the window, just sitting, staring at nothing. The former heavyweight champion of the world reduced to a man who couldn't control his own hands, couldn't control his own body. The same body that had danced around George Foreman, the same hands that had shocked Sonny Liston, now shaking, betraying him, giving up on him. He was alone, had told everyone to go home hours ago, his wife, his team, the doctors. He needed to be alone with this thing, this disease that was stealing him piece by piece. This slow-motion robbery happening inside his own nervous system. The knock on the door was so quiet, Ali almost didn't hear it. 2 soft taps, then silence, then 2 more. Ali stood up slowly, his movements careful, deliberate. The way you move when you can't trust your body anymore. He opened the door expecting a nurse, maybe a doctor checking vitals. What he got was Frank Sinatra. Francis Albert Sinatra, old blue eyes, the chairman of the board, standing in a hospital hallway at 2 in the morning, wearing a fedora and a perfectly tailored suit, looking like he just stepped out of a nightclub, which maybe he had. With Frank, you never knew. Frank, Ali's voice was quieter than it used to be. The Parkinson's affected that too. The volume, the projection, everything. "Can I come in, champ?" Ali stepped back, let Sinatra in, closed the door behind him. They stood there in the semi-darkness. 2 legends, 2 men who'd conquered their respective worlds. One of them now fighting an enemy that couldn't be knocked out, couldn't be outmaneuvered, couldn't be beaten. Sinatra took off his hat, held it in his hands. "I heard you were here, heard about the diagnosis, had to come see you. At 2 in the morning? That's when I do my best thinking, when the world shuts up for a minute, when it's quiet enough to hear yourself." Sinatra walked to the window, looked out at the city. "You mind if I sit? It's your city, Frank. Do whatever you want." Sinatra smiled at that, sat down in the chair Ali had been using. Ali sat on the edge of the hospital bed. Both men quiet for a moment. The room filled with the kind of silence that only exists between people who understand what it means to be famous, to be watched, to be expected to be more than human. Finally, Sinatra spoke. "I came here to tell you something I've never told anyone, something I should have told you years ago, but I was too proud, too stupid, too scared." Ali waited, listening. "You remember 1967, when you refused the draft, when they took your title, when everyone turned on you?" "I remember. You know what I did? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I watched them destroy you, and I said nothing, did nothing. I had a platform. I had influence. I had the ear of politicians and press and power brokers, and I stayed silent." Ali started to speak, but Sinatra held up his hand. "Let me finish. Please. I've been carrying this for 17 years, and if I don't get it out now, I never will." Sinatra's voice was different, not the smooth, confident voice from the records. Something rawer, more real. "I was afraid that if I supported you, if I stood up for what was obviously right, I'd lose my audience, my career, my access. I told myself it wasn't my fight, told myself you didn't need my help, told myself 100 lies to justify my cowardice." The room was so quiet, Ali could hear Sinatra breathing, could hear the city outside, could hear his own heart beating. "But that wasn't the worst part," Sinatra continued. "The worst part was that I knew you were right. I knew what they were doing to you was wrong. I knew that what you were standing for mattered more than my record sales or my movie deals or my relationships with politicians. And I still said nothing. I chose comfort over courage. I chose my career over my conscience. And every day since then, I've had to live with that." Sinatra turned to look at Ali, his eyes wet. "You were the bravest man in America, and I was a coward. You sacrificed everything for what you believed. And I couldn't even sacrifice a little bit of convenience to support you. And that eats at me. Every single day. It eats at me." Ali didn't know what to say. Frank Sinatra, the man who seemed to fear nothing, the man who walked with presidents and mob bosses, the man who owned every room he entered, was sitting in a hospital room at 2 a.m, confessing his shame. "You want to know why I really came here tonight?" Sinatra asked. "It's not just because I heard about your diagnosis. It's because I'm afraid I'm going to die without ever having had the courage you had. I'm 68 years old. I've had more success than 10 men deserve. I've sung for presidents. I've performed on every stage that matters. I've lived a life most people can only dream about. But I've never done what you did. I've never stood up for something that really cost me something. I've never put everything on the line for a principle. I've lived my whole life playing it safe, playing the angles, working the system. And now I'm old, and I'm looking at what's left of my life, and I'm terrified that when I die, people will remember the Psalms, but they won't remember anything that mattered, because I never did anything that really mattered." Ali listened to this confession, this outpouring of regret from a man who seemed to have it all, and something shifted in his understanding. He'd spent the last few weeks feeling sorry for himself, feeling like the universe was unfair, like he was being punished. But here was Frank Sinatra, perfectly healthy, wildly successful, telling him that he'd trade places in a heartbeat if it meant having the courage to live with principle. "Frank," Ali said quietly, "you think I felt brave when I refused the draft? I was terrified. I thought my career was over. I thought I'd go to prison. I thought everyone would hate me. I didn't feel brave. I felt scared. But you did it anyway." "Yeah, I did it anyway, because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror if I didn't. That's not bravery. That's just not being able to live with being a coward." Sinatra laughed, a short, bitter laugh. "You think that's not bravery, being unable to live with cowardice? That's the definition of bravery. Me, I lived with it just fine. I'm still living with it. That's the difference between us." Ali shook his head. "You're here, in a hospital, telling me the truth. That takes courage. Does it? Or am I just trying to feel better about myself by confessing to you? Maybe I'm still being selfish. Maybe this is just another way for me to make it about me. Maybe. Or maybe you're finally being honest. Maybe that's the first step." Sinatra stood up, walked to the window again. New York spread out below them. Millions of people sleeping, dreaming, living their lives without knowing that two of the most famous men in the world were having this conversation. "You know what the worst part is?" Sinatra said. "I don't even know what I'd stand up for, if I had the chance now. If something came along that mattered, I don't know if I'd have the guts to do it. I've spent so long playing it safe that I don't even know if I remember how to take a real risk, a real stand, for something real." Ali got up from the bed, walked over to stand next to Sinatra at the window, his movement slower than it used to be. His balance not quite right. But he made it, stood next to his friend, because that's what Sinatra was, even if they'd never been particularly close. In this moment, they were friends. "You want to know something, Frank? This disease scares me more than anything ever has. More than Liston, more than Foreman, more than going to prison, more than losing everything. Because those were things I could fight. This, I can't fight this. It just takes and there's nothing I can do to stop it." Sinatra looked at him. "But you're still here, still fighting. What choice do I have? You could give up, you could hide, you could disappear. You could let the disease define you. But you're not going to do that, are you?" Ali smiled. A small smile. "No, I'm not going to do that. That's courage. That's what I'm talking about. You can't even help it. It's just who you are. And you can't help being Frank Sinatra." The man who makes magic with his voice. The man who makes people feel things. That's who you are. But I want to be more than that. I want to matter the way you matter. I want my life to mean something beyond the entertainment. Ali turned to face Sinatra fully. Then do it. You're 68. You've got time. You've got platform. You've got voice. Use it. Stand for something. It doesn't have to be Vietnam. It doesn't have to be boxing. Find something you believe in and stand up for it, even if it costs you, especially if it costs you. That's when it counts. What if I fail? What if I stand up and it doesn't matter? What if nobody cares? Then you fail. So what? I've lost fights. I've been knocked down. I've been called everything. But I'm still here. Failing while standing for something is better than succeeding while standing for nothing. Sinatra was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something Ali didn't expect. He started crying, not sobbing, just tears running down his face. Frank Sinatra crying in a hospital room at 2:30 in the morning. "I'm sorry," Sinatra said. "I'm sorry I wasn't there for you in '67. I'm sorry I was weak when you needed people to be strong. I'm sorry I chose my comfort over your dignity. I'm sorry." Ali put his hand on Sinatra's shoulder, his hand shaking, the tremor constant now. "It's okay, I forgive you. But more importantly, you need to forgive yourself, and then you need to do better. That's all. Forgive yourself and do better." They stood there together, two men at different ends of their respective journeys. One losing his body, but still in possession of his spirit. One in perfect health, but losing time to make his spirit matter. Sinatra wiped his eyes, put his hat back on, looked at Ali one more time. "Thank you, for being who you are, for showing the rest of us what courage looks like, for making me face what I've been avoiding, for forgiving me when you didn't have to. You came here at 2 in the morning to tell me the truth. That's worth something. That's worth a lot." Sinatra nodded, shook Ali's hand, the tremor evident in the handshake. But neither man acknowledged it. It didn't matter in that moment. At the door, Sinatra turned back. "I'm gonna do it, you know. I'm gonna find something to stand for. Something real. Something that costs me something. I don't know what yet, but I'm gonna do it. Because of you. Because of this conversation. Because I don't want to die being the man who only sang pretty songs while the world needed voices for more important things." "I believe you," Ali said. And he did. Sinatra left. The room went quiet again. Ali went back to his chair by the window. But something had changed. The disease was still there. The tremors were still there. The future was still uncertain and scary. But Ali felt lighter somehow, less alone, less like his struggles were pointless. He'd just helped Frank Sinatra find his courage. He'd just shown someone else the path to meaning. His body might be failing, but its purpose wasn't. His impact wasn't. His ability to matter wasn't. In the weeks and months that followed, Sinatra kept his promise. He started speaking out, started using his platform for more than entertainment, started taking stands on issues that mattered: civil rights, veterans issues, youth programs, things that might have cost him some fans, some access, some comfort, but he did it anyway. And every time someone asked him why he'd suddenly become so outspoken, he'd smile and say, "I had a conversation with Muhammad Ali that changed my perspective on what matters." He never told anyone about the hospital room, never revealed the confession, never shared what had really happened at 2 in the morning in that 7th-floor room. That was private. That was sacred. That was between two men who'd both struggled with courage in different ways. Years later, when Sinatra died in 1998, Ali was asked about their friendship, about the impact Sinatra had on social causes in his later years. Ali smiled, that knowing Ali smile. Frank found his voice, not his singing voice, his real voice, the one that spoke truth instead of just melodies. I'm proud of him for that. Proud that he found the courage to matter in ways beyond entertainment. That's the Frank I'll remember. Not the chairman of the board, The man who stood up. Finally. Even though it was late, even though it was hard, he stood up. Someone asked if Ali had influenced that change in Sinatra. Ali just smiled. Frank influenced himself. He just needed someone to believe he could do it. I believes he could, and he did. The lesson is profound. Courage isn't the absence of fear or regret. It's not being born brave. It's choosing bravery, even when you've spent years being afraid. Even when you've missed opportunities. Even when you're 68 years old and running out of time. It's never too late to stand up. Never too late to matter. Never too late to choose principle over comfort. Frank Sinatra learned that at 2 a.m. in a hospital room from a man whose body was failing but whose spirit was unbreakable. And in learning it, he taught it to others. He showed that redemption is possible, that change is possible, that you can spend most of your life playing it safe and still make the last part count for something real. And Muhammad Ali? He showed that even when you're at your lowest, even when disease is taking your body piece by piece, you can still lift others up. You can still inspire. You can still change lives. Your purpose doesn't end when your body fails. Your impact doesn't stop when your hands shake. You matter as long as you choose to matter. If this story moved you, share it with someone who thinks it's too late to stand for something. Subscribe for more stories about the moments when legends became human and humans became legendary. And remember, courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and doing it anyway. It's about failing to be brave for years and then finally finding the strength to try. It's about 2 a.m. confessions and the grace to forgive and the determination to do better. Frank Sinatra and Muhammad Ali both knew that. And on one quiet night in New York, they reminded each other.